You better work tonight. That was nice.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Please, like to meet you.
I think I told you when she was, when the meeting was going too long at the beanbag, we could always agree to like, okay, Bev, you say something, and I'll second. Let's get out of here.
How long did it take for that to be? A motion?
We beat the horse, we canned the horse. Then they had a tribute to the horse.
Oh.
And then they're like, okay, I'm done. We gotta go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
What are you doing these days?
I hear you're gonna have horse.
It's just an annual picnic. Yeah.
Take
Here at the end. Yeah. That was a problem.
Well, just did.
We always work
Actually,
together.
yeah.
We always come see here.
Thank question, but I'll catch you after. Good.
Okay. Good. I gotta go.
So once again, Mr. Paul, for this wonderful bout.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, Paul. We have team 4 going to do our inspiration and pledge and such things. Michelle, would you think, please?
All right, for our prayer today. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together. Today, we are grateful to our guest speaker, Liz Hansen with CASA, and for the wisdom and inspiration shared. Bless our efforts and Sunrise and Hope Initiative and all our fundraising events that through them we may make a difference in the lives of children experiencing homelessness. Guide us to serve with compassion, strengthen our bonds as Rotarians, and may our work contribute to bring peace in the community and peace in the world. Amen. Okay, the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the four-way test. Number 1.
It's the truth.
Number 2.
It's a fair law concern.
Number 3.
Relationships will be beneficial to all concerned.
I only needed to say I, and you guys would just say, I didn't even have to say I. Right in.
All right.
I'll do it.
All right, Michelle, any updates for us?
Oh, that's right, yeah, so we have a few updates for team 4. So we had a meeting, Ian, and I may have talked about this last time, Ian was in the process of coming up with an orientation that our new members can go to once they get acclimated to the club, so more to come on that. I attended, a few of us did, we logged into the summit for membership, something that Rotary offered. It was pretty interesting about different ways that we can get Rotarians to join. Who we're looking for, like what type of people we want to join our club. And one of the things that they said that I thought was really interesting was don't let the 4 walls of your meeting space define your club. So who are you, who do you want to be, and what can you do outside of this room? I thought that was pretty interesting. And then on the Sunrise of Hope, some good news on that. Jim Farley said, are you?
Yep, behind you.
So, we met with the Boone County Education Council and, kind of talked about a joint initiative with them for something that they're doing for our fundraiser right now, and they're interested. So maybe we can with them again to determine if it's something we can put together, but it may be a way for us to raise even more money than what we're doing right now for the Sunday.
So we're like 20,000 in right now. Sean, hey, we got guests. I'm gonna update that picture from high school someday. That'd be nice. They got, God, I'll go to real estate. We have guests here. We have Brandon Carter. Brandon, would you stand and tell us what you do?
Yes, sir. I'm working for Chase Bank. John Nugent and I were opening up the one that's opening up in Triple Crown region by the Publix here soon.
Great. Well. Ed, thanks for bringing him along. We appreciate it. Mr. Nugent. You gotta get a little slower. Yeah, you gotta follow along. It's up, he's out the elf business or something, I don't know. Jennifer Rose, where's Jennifer Rain? Rose by any other name, Jennifer, what's your report?
I am here, I'm a CASA volunteer, so I'm here with Liz Hansen as to represent volunteers from my viewpoint.
Fantastic, well. We'll hear from Liz shortly, but, hard to be a Reds fan, a lot of emotions over the weekend, they did go 3-3 against, two of the best teams in baseball. That's how we way to put it. Yes. And they won yesterday, if they had won yesterday, if you what, they have not been swept, still haven't been swept. So they're gonna go out to play the Angels and we hope something heavenly helps them. Yeah, and we had the Bengals had their preseason game against the Commanders. And remember when you're really complaining about the heat, we don't behave ourselves, it's a lot hotter somewhere else.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Oh, and I have golf outing brochures. If anybody needs one, raise your hand. I'll bring it to you. Yeah, so all foundation board members, we have a meeting. This is meeting.
We still need some volunteers to step up for the foundation board and also for the club. And as you all know, we'll carry this on to the month of August and we'll take it off, but there's a surcharge for the. If you use your credit card, it's $13.50. If you just pay in cash or a check, it's the normal $13. We have on the 4th. That's the 11th. The Saturday, the 11th, I believe, is the Rotary Leadership Institute. And on Friday, the 3rd is the golf outing.
Messed the dates up.
And then on Saturday, the 4th is the river school. So there are all opportunities to help the club and to learn more about Rotary. We just had a little update from Michelle. Don't forget to sponsor the golf outing by bringing in some bourbon, because we're going to raffle those off as a way to make some more money for the club. We've got Sunrise of Hope. And Barbara's not here because she's in San Diego packing up her daughter so they can go to the new her new duty station with her husband, which I think they're going to want.
Yeah, it is.
So as you can see, we collected quite a bit for the school supplies, so well done. This is a June.
We need more interaction on our social media. We're down from last week, so just a reminder, comment, like, share.
Also from people's volunteer hours and still negligent.
And that number has not changed since our last meeting, and I know there's lots of hours and donations.
Because, you know, first one that needs to be. And does anyone else have any reflections from the meeting that Michelle was talking about for membership? Julie.
So I was able to hop on for about half of it. The nice part is you do meet people from all over the place. There was people from other districts and zones there, and you just get lots of great ideas. So if there's other opportunities which we'll share, just hop on. It's like half hour, and it just helps invigorate you and get you more and more excited about Rotary.
And we're all excited about Rotary. Any announcements from the club? Hey, Dennis.
Standing room only.
Standing. You got about it. Happy dollars. All right, Michelle first.
I had a wonderful lunch with you.
Oh, yes, we did. have
Last
a-
week, so thank you so very much for that. I enjoyed that.
I did too. Thank you. Marcus?
I kind of feel like Paul Revere. Paul Revere says that if English are coming, the English are coming. Then in the late nineties, I told people the internet is coming, the internet is coming. And now I'm telling you and have told you for the last 2 or 3 years,
AI,
that AI is coming, AI is coming. It's here.
yeah,
It's affecting everyone. You've got to learn it and you've got to do it. There's no excuses. You have to do it or you'll be gone. That's pretty serious, isn't it? So AIresources.info is a free URL that I use to put all the latest resources on the AI for you, absolutely free. So you have no excuse. It doesn't cost you anything and you can learn AI. You've got to do it. If you don't do it, your 7th grader will teach you how to do it. They're below my arm. They all know it right now.
Yeah.
You gotta seriously, it's very serious. You have to do it. Many CEOs now are finally catching on to this thing. They are getting a little bit late for it, but it's all happening. Okay.
Thank God I have a grandson that's in the 7th grade.
The question.
Yeah. Ian,
Football season is, fast approaching, and this Friday night, the St. Henry Crusaders host their first ever varsity football game in 90 years. So
that's cool.
John, yes, I always like to remind everyone about my annual pickle feast, but it's actually a pickle and wiener feast, okay? And it is the 27th of September, which is a Saturday. I think almost every member of our board is also a member of Rotary, even though it's not officially a Rotary. All the proceeds go to Special Olympics, go to the Kentucky Special Olympics Area 7 March Day. Come out and join us at the Erlanger Lions Club September 27th. It's a daytime event, noon to 5, senior citizen hours, noon to 5. And there's no admission to get in. All we ask for is a donation.
$10 to get out.
And everyone, well,
I have had the pleasure to celebrate my mom's 90th birthday.
Nice.
And, we're at the Radisson in the rotating restaurant. I think the last time I was there, I was probably 15. The interior pretty much looks the same. It was just wonderful. Yeah, made about a rotation and a quarter just to see Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati. It was very, I had forgotten how nice it is to look out. And then my other one, we had a birthday party for my 3-year-old granddaughter in a park in Walton. So we got to experience high winds and then rain and then sun and humidity. Yeah, we got it all covered. Fortunately, a nice little playground next to it and a little, they call it when you jump around in the water. It's not. Water. Thank you, splash. Exactly. So turned out real nice. Okay, Ian.
Okay.
now for the main event. All right, so 2 weeks ago, you heard the inverse of this story. But I met Liz actually at the Serve and Socialize fair at the Boone County Public Library. I was talking to Liz when Kelsey Mitchell from the American Red Cross. So she beat you here, sorry. But we bonded a little bit over Liz's past history with Rotary. Her father was Rotarian. So I'm going to kind of share a little bit of that. But Liz will share the reality of child abuse in Kentucky and Northern Kentucky and how we individually and as a community can help protect children who experience trauma. Through the lens of CASA's mission, Liz will demonstrate how volunteers become real-life superheroes for children navigating the family court system due to abuse and neglect. She's going to share how CASA recruits and trains volunteers what it means to be a court for a child and how the community can support the mission to ensure every child has a safe, permanent, and nurturing home. Liz joined CASA in July of 2023 and brings over a decade of experience with CASA of Western Kentucky and Paducah, where she supervises 30 volunteers and coordinates ongoing training. Her lifelong commitment to children and service spans more than 30 years. was also as a part of a Rotary legacy, as her father was a 56-year Rotarian in Paducah with 27 years of perfect attendance.
Wow.
I don't think we tracked that anymore. Anyway, it's almost a big trouble. Anyway, listen.
Thank you. So I was just sharing that every vacation we went on as a child, our first stop had to be to find when and where the Rotary meeting was, so we could keep in mind.
Yeah.
He was a two-time past president and a Paul Harris fellow. I feel like I grew up in the Rotary. I'm grateful to be here. So if anybody'd like to sponsor me, I do work for a nonprofit I'm going to be telling you a lot about, so I'd be happy to take those interests after the presentation. I also wanted to recognize you did get to meet Jennifer Rose. She's one of our amazing CASA volunteers. So we will be available after the presentation as well, if you have questions. So thrilled to be with you today. And thank you so much. I'm sorry Carol Lee couldn't be here, but I'm grateful that she sponsored me to be here as well. So if you're not familiar, CASA is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. And there are 17 other programs besides our CASA, the Northern Bluegrass program around the state. Our CASA programs cover 97 of our 120 Kentucky counties. And CASA, the Northern Bluegrass, our service area is our 9 counties. So you've got your 8 that are represented on this beautiful quilt up here. You also see them on the screen, plus Harrison County, which is generally bundled down with Fayette County. But we were able to last year serve 231 children who had experienced abuse and neglect. So I'm just curious, had anyone before today or before you read the little blurb, had you heard of CASA before? Anyone? Okay, good. So we got a lot of people in this room. So most of you don't think of a Spanish house maybe when you hear CASA. You think of court-appointed special advocates for children. We recruit and train citizen volunteers to work with children who have experienced abuse and neglect and are found in the court system through no fault of their own. And we want to help them thrive in a safe and permanent home. So our CASA volunteers make a lasting impact on the lives of Northern Kentucky families and children. And I'm going to share a brief video that was produced by our National CASA Association, also through our Kentucky CASA network. And I think it does a really good job of sharing with you about the children that we work with, as well as a little bit about our role, and then I'll go into some more detail for that. Hopefully you can hear.
Growing up can be tough.
Yep.
Children have school and homework, practices and games. There are doctor's appointments and detention halls. Making friends, keeping friends, discovering who they are and who they aren't. These times are transformative in a child's life story, and sometimes they can really be chaotic. That chaos of being a child only increases when a family is in distress. The normal winds of chaos become a storm, and sometimes when a storm is so great, concern for a child's safety can lead to removal from their home. This is a hard time. It's complicated and painful. When a child is separated from their family because of abuse or neglect, they leave their normal and enter foster care. They are sent to a new home, often to a new school with new people, new everything. The aim is to strengthen the child and family and help in the healing process. But all that new, all those changes, it's a lot for anyone, let alone a child. They still have the school activities and doctor's appointments and the lessons to learn. But now court dates and check-ins with social workers quickly fill the calendar. And there's the pain of separation from their family, what they know and where they feel comfortable. There are hundreds of thousands of children and families who experience exhausting and isolating days, weeks, and even years like this. But there are ways to help. A court-appointed special advocate, a CASA volunteer for short, helps make these times less tough. Children need a constant who is on their team. A CASA volunteer champions their best interest amidst all the shuffle and works with others to get them home safely. These carefully screened, highly trained volunteers are a constant amidst the chaos. And although there are still tough days, there's someone standing up for and with the child, day in, day out. Someone who knows both the biological and foster parents and their siblings and the unique dynamics they share together. Someone who meets with the teachers, doctors, lawyers, and social workers to ensure the child's needs are being met and the family is connected to necessary resources. Someone who speaks for the child's best interests in court and is committed to the child being with their family whenever safely possible. Someone who the judge counts on for information and insight. Someone who cares about the child and just lets them be a kid. Someone by their side for the tough days, the great days, and the in-between days. This someone is so important. Each child who has experienced abuse or neglect needs the support. Someone to help them weather the storm, someone to count on. And by volunteering your time, you can be the someone, their advocate, the powerful voice for their best interest. Be a CASA volunteer.
Well, obviously, that is a recruiting video.
Right.
Because that is part of what we do. We recruit and train citizen volunteers. Our CASA volunteers make a lasting impact on families and children, and I hope I'm going to be able to share more about that with you throughout my presentation. Our CASA volunteers care about the well-being and the welfare of children who don't have a stable home. They get to know the child, and maybe it's more than one child, maybe there are several siblings that they're appointed to, and all those in their lives. And then they share information with the court to speak up for what they feel is in these children's best interest. Our vision at CASA is for a community where every child who has experienced abuse and neglect has an advocate to help them thrive in a safe and nurturing environment. And through their advocacy work, our CASA volunteers are the stable, consistent adults who help them do just that, thrive. The children we're appointed to are generally 0 to 18 years old. They come from a variety of traumatic situations and circumstances. So when a judge appoints us to the case, children may be living with their parents still. They may have been removed to living with relatives. They may be in foster care, or they might be in a residential facility, depending upon the circumstances. Some of our children need services that aren't available in our immediate area, so they may get moved from our area because of the lack of available services and the child's individual needs. And our volunteers travel to where their children are to visit them until they're in a safe and permanent place. You can ask Jennifer after the meeting if she's ever traveled to see one of her CASA children. There's some interesting stories. But I want to tell you just a little bit about how CASA came to be. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I do like to tell the story because Judge Sukup is one of my heroes. In the 70s, this judge out of Seattle, Washington, believed that he wasn't getting a full picture about what was happening with the children who were involved in the cases that were before him. In our courts, I don't know if you're aware, most times children are not in our family courts because that can cause more trauma, right? If they've already experienced trauma and then we bring them before a judge into a scary, formal looking room, that can be very traumatic for them. So he wanted to find a way that he could get to the root of what is going on with these children. What do they need? If they're old enough, what would they like to see happen? And what are their best interests? And he felt that he could do that by training community volunteers that had no connection with the child welfare system, who could speak up. They could get to know the child and speak up in his courtroom for what they felt were in children's best interest. So in 1977, he established the CASA program out west. And he trained community volunteers to speak up for the well-being and safety of the children that were in his court. And in 1990, Congress said, doing such a great job, let's expand this nationwide. And so Boone County, in fact, was one of the first counties in Kentucky to have a CASA program in 1991. So it went very well. Today, there are approximately 88,000 CASA volunteers speaking up for abused and neglected children and changing their stories for the better. Our CASA of the Northern Bluegrass region has only been around for a couple of years because we are a merger of the former Boone and Kenton County programs. Again, I said Boone was established in 91, Kenton County in 2007 through the fiscal courts, and then became its own entity in 2009. And then in 2023, joined forces. We felt like we could do more for children together than we could apart. And then you see all of our judges through our 9 counties, including our Honorable Kendra McCardle and Honorable Jennifer Dusing, who serve right here in Boone County. Our volunteers are appointed by these judges and we report directly to them. We're considered friends of the court, so we're an official in the courtroom. Excuse me, I lost my place. We get support, our volunteers get support through staff. They receive 30+ hours of training, and then they get to observe in the courtroom so that they can get an opportunity to get a feel for the courtroom, as well as to see how they are to interact with the officials that are taking part in a case. They're responsible, they have a lot of responsibilities after going through training, and I won't get into all of those with you. But our volunteers serve one child at a time, or one sibling group at a time. And it kind of sets us apart from everybody else that's involved in the court process. Because most of the parties, the judge, the social workers, the attorneys, they have multiple cases in a day that they're assigned to. And so we kind of our volunteers become the experts on the children in the courts. And then our staff support and supervisors walk alongside them in their advocacy work through everything that they do. That they gather information about the child and their needs, make observations, and then that culminates in a written report that they present to our judges. Our ultimate goal is to advocate for the best interests of children and to stay with them until they're in a safe and what we consider a permanent home where they have some stability. Our CASA volunteers come from all kinds of backgrounds and walks of life. They're educators, doctors and nurses, realtors, bankers up here. Business people, farmers, retirees, stay-at-home parents, grandparents, and more. So you can see there is no set group of people that become CASA volunteers. They're people who have a heart for children. But there are some requirements for people who want to volunteer with our organization. We're not just a one-up, hey, I can come for an hour on Tuesday. We ask our volunteers to make a commitment. They have to be at least 21 years old. You have to be able to pass background checks. To complete the volunteer training, that 30+ hours of training that I talked about, an interview with CASA staff. And a lot of people will say, that's a lot of training for a volunteer position. But we want to ensure that our volunteers feel confident about doing this vital work that we're asking them to do. And so that comes through the national CASA standards as well as legal statutes for those who want to volunteer. It is a commitment. It's a commitment to the CASA program, but more importantly, it's a commitment to the children that we serve. It can be difficult work, but it can also be very rewarding when we see families successfully reunite. Or if it's not safe for a child to reunite with that family, that we can see them thriving in a safe and stable home. Because that's what we want, is we want safety and the ability to thrive for these children. And so you can get an idea of the need we have in our community for more advocates. Let me share with you our stats from the Administrative Office of the Courts. These numbers that you see show the number of cases in Kentucky involving child abuse, neglect, and dependency in 2024. I'm sure you're probably not surprised to see that Jefferson County had the most cases reported, but Kent County was not far behind. We were number 3 in Kent County, and right here in Boone County was right behind number 4 with the highest number of cases. And you have to remember, these are the number of cases that were reported and before the court, because we know in many of these counties, and I spend a lot of time out in our rural counties, there are a lot of cases that go unreported, and so they don't have the opportunity to have that intervention and have that successful opportunity to thrive. You can see there's a great need all around our region. You know, we need volunteers in all of these counties. And our judges, and particularly Judge Dusing and Judge McCardle, are always saying to us, tell me when you get more volunteers because we will assign you more cases. Yes. And we currently have probably about 10 to 12 cases that go unassigned. We've been appointed to, but are unassigned because of the shortage of our number of volunteers. We have kids out there who need people to speak up for them. They need someone to be their voice in court. So last year, our program served 231 children with 92 active volunteers. And I moved up here from Western Kentucky and I thought, that's great. Of course, Western Kentucky is not Northern Kentucky. We are not quite the size we are. And so even with those numbers, we only served 10% of the children who were before the court system, just 10%. I want to do better. And that was after recruiting 20 new volunteers who joined us in 2024. And while 20 new volunteers is wonderful, you probably know there's an ebb and flow in a lot of volunteer positions. And so while we train new volunteers, we lose other volunteers to retirement, relocation, and other factors. And each of our staff staff supervisors can only supervise 30 volunteers at a time. So we have 3 active staff supervisors right now. So we were already over our number of active volunteers, and we need to hire a new supervisor. But we have to serve more children to get more grant and state funding to hire a new supervisor so we can recruit more volunteers to serve more children. That sounds complicated. It feels complicated. So it's which comes first, right? And our main goal is serving more children. We want to serve as many children as we can because research shows that if they have a stable, consistent adult in their lives, that they have a higher percentage rate of success in their later life. So we do have barriers for getting more volunteers and serving more children. And we know that all children in our courts would greatly benefit from having a CASA volunteer, and our judges 100% agree. We're so grateful to have the judges that we work with in our 9-county region, and that they are so on board that can feel that we bring benefit to the courts and to the families and children. But they have to think pretty carefully about which children they think are in the most dire need for a stable adult in their lives when there aren't enough to go. So CASA volunteers make a lasting impact on the lives of children. Research shows children with a CASA are less likely to spend time in long-term foster care. Children and parents receive more services. Children are more likely to be reunified with their parents. Cases are more likely to remain closed. So when I say that, they get their permanency, they close a case, they're less likely to come back because, oh, in a month, the same issues have come up again, and so we have to go through it all again. So they're less likely if they have an advocate speaking up for them in court. And children are less likely to reenter the system once they are adults. I had a case when I was leaving Western Kentucky to move here to Northern Kentucky. It was my very last case that I carried in Western Kentucky. And the mother was a child who, when I very first started 11 years ago, she was aging out just as I was coming on and being assigned to her, she and her siblings. And now she didn't get the benefit because there wasn't a CASA up until her 2 weeks before she turned 18. And so now she was back, and her 4 children at age 25 were being removed from her, like, you know, a child a year. It's heartbreaking. And so we want to be able to provide that CASA volunteer to help them have a better outcome than that. Research shows that so many things can be better. All of these things that I've mentioned to you make a difference in the lives of children. So we can make the difference, change those children's stories. You can be part of making that difference and changing their stories. What we do is important and vital to the children we serve, because without it, only 18% who exit the system without finding permanence will finish high school, and only 5% are going to go to college. 80% who don't find permanence are going to report having a drug or alcohol abuse problem. And this is a biggie for a lot of business people. For every child that falls through the system, $5 million is lost over a life. When a child finds a permanent, successful home, taxpayers are also saving money. So this is life-saving work that makes a huge impact on children and families, but also on our communities and on our state. And we do this work as a nonprofit on a small nonprofit budget. But we couldn't do it without our funding partners with various grants, individuals, and fundraising. We receive funding through private, federal, and county grants that we apply for, that like every nonprofit I know, we don't get every grant we apply for. So we're also grateful to individuals, families, and business donors, and all those who participate, sponsor, or help in any way with our fundraising efforts, like Dine to Donate events. So if you see something's coming up in the Boone County area and it's a Dine to Donate, you can go eat at a local restaurant, and proceeds from your dinner will come to CASA of the Northern Bluegrass region. So we appreciate that. Also, our main fundraiser is our CASA 5K Superhero Run and Walk, and it's going to be on September 13th at Idlewild Park. And you see a picture there of some really good-looking people who were running, and for every adult who registers, a child runs for free, and they get a mask and a lovely superhero cape, and they get to run And it's a wonderful, fun event for everyone. We have face painting for kids. There's more information. You have information at your seats. There's one about the 5K. So if you would like to participate in that, if you'd like to be a sponsor, don't hesitate to speak with me after my presentation. I'd love to talk with you about that. Everything given to support what we do is appreciated. So we also have, besides a recruitment postcard at your table there, we also have a donation card. So if you'd like to make a donation, everything counts. And every bit of support that we get goes to serving children. So thank you in advance for any way, even if it's sharing our mission and sharing what we do with someone else, that helps. So I could really talk about CASA all day, but I know that you all have places to be. So Jennifer and I are going to be around. I actually will be happy to take any questions you might have right now about the program, about the children, anything that is not confidential that I can share. I would be happy to share with you.
Neville.
Over the last 10 years, just, I don't know if you have these statistics, looking at the abuse of children, is it stabilizing or is it going to get higher, and what's the projection in the future?
So it can vary, and we have a lot of factors to that, right? Because there's a lot of abuse that happens that's not reported. In the state of Kentucky, do we like to be number one in basketball? I mean, usually we have a room of UK fans. Anybody UK fan? Maybe not.
There might be a few.
Maybe just a few. So sorry, maybe not a good one for you. Typically in basketball, we like to be number one. We do not like to be number one in the number of child abuse, dependency, neglect, and we are typically in the top 3 for the last 15 years, maybe 12, 15 years. We've been in the top 3 in the number of abuse, neglect, and dependency cases. So it continues to go up. During COVID, it went down. Gee, I wonder why. Were kids around as many different people and eyes on them? At least it went down in Western Kentucky. I can speak to that because that was what I knew at the time. Coming out of COVID, it was slow to rise until Christmas. And I say that, so we went 2020 and then we got into 2021 and it was just kind of trickling in. And by Christmas of 2021, I think in Western Kentucky, between December 1st and January, probably 5th, I think we had, just CASA, I think we were assigned to 20 new cases, which means there were probably 50 or more petitions. It was kind of unprecedented. And I think because we had that time of everybody being at home. And so, I don't know if any of you have children at home, and during COVID, you were loving it. And I know a lot of people were loving it, but they were also some high emotions, and it could be very stressful because you're not used to being with everyone for that long and not having some breaks, even though you love your family. So I'm not exactly sure why it waited, but I know that children who have experienced trauma, and if they have trauma, holidays can also be a high stress time. And so it just exploded. And so for us, it was a huge, and it just continued to rise. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it rise here since I've been here, but I can't speak to prior to my year being here. So I've been with CASA the Northern Bluegrass just a year, but the numbers in Kentucky continue to rise, and the need becomes greater, and it's harder to find people because this is a big ask of people. So I don't have specifics, but I can give you the generalities if that helps.
Who is the greatest reporting entity as far as how do you figure out if there's something going on in them?
So we have different reporters. Sometimes it's a family member. Sometimes it's what we call a fictive kin. So somebody who's like family, someone the child trusts and maybe has confided in. Most of the time it's come probably through social services. And so they make a lot of our petitions. But as far as reporting, which we don't deal with the reporting end of it, but I would say from my experience over 11 years, teachers, daycare workers, medical professionals were the highest reporters. Not all of those became cases that came before the court, but they're the people you think of who have eyes on, our medical professionals who are seeing kids who see something that's unusual. Our teachers, our guidance counselors, daycare workers who are with kids 5 days a week, and they see little changes in these kids. If you think of anybody else you would say might be like in some of the cases you've had.
Yeah, I think you covered them. I think teachers are a big key one.
Yeah. And I think we get a lot of teachers volunteer after they've retired or when they're nearing retirement because they know they've seen these kids and worked with them day in and day out.
One more question. As far as necessary reporting, who are necessary reporters? And can it be done confidentially? And is it Child Protective Services they report to?
Okay, great questions. So first of all, let me ask, does anybody know who is a mandated reporter in the state of Kentucky? Okay, if you think you're a mandated reporter in the state of Kentucky, please raise your hand. Everyone's hands in this room should be raised. In the state of Kentucky, and we are all mandated reporters. So if you see something, say something. That's the kind of slogan. You see something, say something. There is an 800, a toll free, it's not 800, but a toll free number that you can call to report. And it can be confidential. A lot of it you can do right online now, you know, everything has gone to the internet, so you can do it without talking to anyone. It is, through social services, through the Cabinet for, Health and Family Services. However, I know typically whenever I have made a report, they do take your information, even though you asked for it to be confidential, because in some cases, if it were to get to a certain point in the law, there could be some question come up where someone would need to reach out to you. Somebody else may prefer to. I saw your hand first and then I saw.
So as a volunteer, how many hours do you kind of have to ballpark mental? I mean, how many hours a week is committed, would you have to commit to?
Now, I can answer that from a staff perspective, and I think Jennifer probably gives the over and beyond. But let's ask Jennifer. So how many hours would you say in a week you spend working on your CASA case?
So right now, at least that I have, started with 6 kids, now it's only down to 2. So when I had all 6 kids, I probably spent 2 to 3 hours for sure a week. And then it's probably more reasonable to think about it by the month, because you know, you might go to court every 90 days. It just depends on the case. So I would probably say I spend 15 hours a month probably on it. Probably a pretty good deal. When I have a smaller case now, I'm not spending nearly as much time going out and interviewing people. Because you kind of really get to know the kids, so you want to go out and talk with your teacher. You have the responsibility of the kids and children on your case. You have to meet with them in the local. So sometimes I meet them at home, sometimes I'll meet them at a daycare, I'll meet them at school. So it just depends on what type of visit that you're doing, so that accounts for it. And then if you have to write a court report, that accounts for some. And then I typically like to keep in touch with their teachers individually. That can be by email, which is the nice thing, it doesn't have to be in person. And I like to also talk with their therapists, especially as the kids, if they're really struggling and they're older, that's another really good resource. But the nice thing is we volunteer, so I might do a whole bunch one week and get all my visits done in 1 week, and then I don't have to do too much the rest of them. So that's the nice thing, is you can plan what works for your schedule.
Absolutely.
And you can do it at night, you can do it on the weekends, which some of the families really appreciate, because the cabinet workers are coming, 8 to 5 every day, but I could come at 7 o'clock at night if I wanted to, or meet them on Saturday, if that meets your schedule, and that works out really great.
And so it really is, outside of the training and outside of when court is held, it's pretty much up to the volunteers, how and when, and working with the people that you're collaborating with. I would say the majority of our volunteers probably give 10 to 12 hours a month, a little bit more when it's court in that month. Some of our folks who own their own businesses, sometimes, you know, they may give 5 to 8 hours one month, and then they give 12 hours the next month, just depending, but if they work it around their schedule.
John, you have a question? More of an observation. I think it's important when we talk about this question of child abuse rates going up or going down. I think it's important to point out, number one, that and there's no question CASA is doing great work, especially in Boone County and in the court system. But in your presentation, when you state that it's a given that there's abuse and neglect going on, it is going on. I think it's important to point out that many of these cases are the result of custody battles, non-support cases, and divorces, and that almost all CASA volunteers are women. And that sometimes there's an implicit bias And what I like about CASA is their job is is the interest of the child. Which really no one else, except hopefully the parents and the courts have that role, but their job is the interest of the child and get to the bottom of what's going on. But there's a lot of good struggling parents out there
Absolutely.
that are in this situation where there may not be abuse and neglect going on. There could be, or there could not, but just to assume that it is. I think
Well,
it's
and the reason I assume is because we only get involved once a finding of abuse and neglect has been made.
Yeah.
So we're not involved if the court determines that abuse or neglect has not happened.
But even then, that can be biased. It really can be.
Sure, but we know that the goal of the court and our goal is that these parents will be able to do whatever they need to do by social services and the courts at their direction, that we want to reunify these families. We know research shows, hands down, that children can do better if they are with their family of origin. And as long as it's safe to do so, that's what we want. So that's always going to be our goal. Now, in 15 months, that goal can change. So, I think it's just, in some ways, it's similar to social services because in our minds, we're saying, okay, we know the legal goal is reunification, but we also want to be thinking, what would an alternative plan be if reunification is not possible? So if the parents can't do what the court and social services is asking them to do, then what would be an alternative? But our goal is always to reunify these families because we know that long-term, they may not get the extra stuff that a foster home or somebody else could give to them, but we know their long-term success is going to be better if it's safe for them to stay in that family of origin. So that is absolutely our goal. And again, we only get involved. Sometimes they'll appoint us at a temporary removal, but we do not file any kind of report or work a case at all. I say work a case at all, we might need a child, but we don't do any of the work or reporting until abuse or neglect has been determined by the court that it has been.
Jim, you have a question? Yes.
Dwayne kind of asked the question for many people who might be considering this, about how long in a month is the commitment? How long is the commitment entirely, or does it vary?
So we ask, I said, we go through interviews, we ask if you're willing to make a commitment for a minimum of a year. And I usually preface that and say, and my year is 15 months, because that's what the legal goal time is. And so I just ask, we know life circumstances can change. We've had people say, yes, I am totally on board. And then they have a job change and have to move, or it requires more of them. So we do ask for at least a year because we hope if all things can work perfectly together, that child is going to go back home within a year. And so what we would like to be able to do is have you stay with that child until they're in that safe, stable home, hopefully with their families of origin, but if not, in a different home. So that's what we ask for a commitment. But people leave when they feel that they need to leave. I think Jennifer has been on this case for.
Well, this case that I have right now has been for 6 years, but, and the two children who are left are older and are in residential facilities, unfortunately outside of the state. Sometimes that can happen. But I had 2 other cases, and one of them was a year, 2 years, and the other one, I kind of came in towards the end, so that was another 2 years. I've been doing it the total, I can't believe it, 8 years, so fast. But right now I have some extenuating. I just wanted to add that I have some other family issues that are going on now. So my supervisor, Jennifer, is very understanding. And she says, if I need a break, then I can take a break and she'll help me do things or just suggest ways that we can kind of pare things down. Or if I want to break, you can take a break if you need it. You just have to train after you've taken a break for a year. And so, after this case with it, but you get attached and you want to help people have to find permanency. So that, but
so we ask for a year. We have people who have been with us 8 years and more than 8 years. We have people who come and they work one case and it closes in 12 to 15 months. And they say, I'm so grateful I was able to do this, but I think that's it, because that's what you asked me to commit to. So it's really up to each individual. You get 30+ hours of training, so you learn a lot. And I've had a lot of people say, even if I just work one case and I'm going to do this, boy, this was some really great life learning. And now I'm more aware when I'm out in public, and I'm much more apt to, try to support someone instead of walk away from them when there's a situation. And if I can't support them or they're not going to get support, then I'll make a report.
Sean, I will comment, last time, I don't know, it's been a couple of years ago, maybe longer than that, we had a presentation and Gary Wilhelm signed up to volunteer.
Yeah.
And went through the training. I know he had at least 2 cases that he saw through. And he said it was challenging, it was rewarding. And he, I think, after 2 cases, he was ready for a break, but they worked out well for him.
And we have people, we have 21-year-olds. I think last fall, my oldest, going through class, we celebrated her 86th birthday while she was in the training class. So it's all ages. We do have mostly women, but we do have many men. We're blessed in this program to have many men. I had 2 in Western Kentucky. But we have, I want to say it's maybe a dozen, a baker's dozen. We need people of all sorts, of all walks, of all experience, to be able to stand up for these kids, and we try to make the best matches we can. We don't just tell you, you're taking this case. I have these 3 kids. You're taking this case, Casey. No, we're going to say, hey, Casey, I have the situation. Can I talk to you about it? See if this is something you're interested in. Because we also know if it's a good fit for you and you feel like it's a good match, that it's going to be good. It's not going to stress you out and burn you out. And we don't want to do any harm, not to children, but also not to our volunteers. So we try to support you as best we can and equip you to do the work.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I think we probably have 30 sponsors in this room, so I would gladly sponsor you for the club, please. I got presents.
You got a present.
Yeah, we donate, for speakers, we donate a book to the elementary schools in our area, so you're listed there.
That's so good.
We have this nice little camera watch.
Camera. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Dave, aren't you going to be taking orders soon?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to be, as Dave is wearing, please stand so they can see that beautiful shirt that I'm wearing. And Greg is wearing, so I have a face for radio, but we're going to be coming up next week or 2. I'll send out the order form. Great. We have a meeting next week. Team 5, you're going to be sponsoring that, or whatever the correct term is, hosting that. Thank you. That was a better term. And I think that's about it. And if your foundation, don't forget, right after that, we're meeting. See you next week.